He doesn't like bring kids to school. Yeah.
It's recording.
Are you good? Sure. All right. Hi, everyone. Hi. I am Kim Sloan. I am one of the assistant directors.
I'm Terry, I'm the director.
I'm Jeannie. I was a Masada counselor last year.
I'm Zach. I was in Masada last year.
I'm Valerie. I'm one of the parents.
So, and we also have Lisa here, another one of the assistant directors, but she's also a Masada mom, so she's sitting with the on the parent side right now, but she may also pop in with some answers.
I'm supervising the kid.
She is supervised, so we can all leave. Just so you know what's going to happen is we are going to put this on Facebook on the parents only page, so there's going to be people watching from across the country. In Masada, and they could be asking some questions, and I'm going to be monitoring that, so you might hear me ask some questions throughout. And we're also going to be filming this and putting it on YouTube later, so in case you can't remember something, you can also go in and check it out if you would like to.
You can also call us or email us.
And if you ask, you guys can ask a billion questions, I promise. We might ask you to say it louder, or we might say it on top of you if it's kind of soft, just to make sure that everyone at home can hear as well. Hello. All right, so, and if you didn't already, there are the guidelines that got sent out last week. Those are in the back. There's also some cookies in case you get hungry. And if suddenly you have to go to the bathroom, please don't feel like you can't walk out. No one's gonna see you. The camera's just over here. Yeah, when Terry leaves, it's normal. All right, so I'm gonna start the live. 3, 2, 1.
Hey, so welcome to the Masada Orientation. I am Terry, the director. We've got, Lee will not be here today, the unit head. She was flying back to Boston, so she left early to avoid the nor'easter that was heading there.
I'm Jeannie. I was a Masada counselor last summer.
And I'm Zach, and I was Teeny's camper this past summer.
And I'm Valerie, and I am a Masada mother.
We have a whole audience of people who you'll hear ask questions, hopefully, and I think we'll start. So we realized this year that we do new camper orientations, but we don't do Masada orientations. And Masada is really such a different experience that we thought it would be helpful to parents and campers to hear a little bit about the Masada program before they get there. So I think everybody got a packing list emailed to them. Kim is also here. And so we will start with the packing list. So we'll go over some, it says Masada guidelines. I will tell you that something that is going to be new this year is in the world of food. Here's what's new on our end is we sometimes forget that they're very hungry teenagers up at the Masada Village, so we're going to oversupply them with snackage. Their biorhythms are different, so they're up a little bit later than the rest of the campers, so we're going to make sure that they have plenty of food. We're also going to be sending a shopping list so that if parents want to send snacks, we will send you what approved snacks there are. We have so many kids with allergies of so many kinds that we're going to send you an approved list that will be nut-free, peanut-free, sesame-free, and kosher. So we've had up to duffel bags worth of snackage. If you want to fill a whole duffel bag with it, that's great, but we're going to give you the list of things to buy. If you find something else that fits those parameters, you can take a picture of it and send it to us and we'll say sure. But it really especially has to be nut-free, tree nut-free, peanut-free, and sesame-free, and kosher. Would be great. So that's a big change. Should we go over this?
Yeah, sure.
The packing list of what you want to do?
Sure. So we have a section on the packing list called camping supplies. So this is stuff that,
Page 2.
yes, probably you haven't been sending your kid to camp with in the past. I would say it's sort of, everything on here is really important. A couple like special notes. The sleeping bag, it is really important to be 20 degrees Fahrenheit or lower. We did have nights that cold in Colorado this past summer. And it can be pretty, even in the tent, it can be pretty miserable if your sleeping bag isn't keeping you warm enough. And then also, it's important that it packs pretty small because your campers are carrying their own sleeping bags with them. When we're on the 3-day hike, they're carrying it attached to their backpack with a bunch of other stuff in it. So you can test it out in the store, like see how small it gets, and just it's different for every camper. Some people think that they can carry bigger or smaller. But besides that, the Fahrenheit degrees are really important. Down versus synthetic doesn't really matter. That's not super important.
I would suggest if you have questions to go to a camping store, Alpine Shop, REI, somewhere like that, and whether or not you purchase it there. You may find it on Moose Jaw or something like that, less expensive, but they're really good at answering all these questions.
Yeah, you
what
can
kind
tell
of
them
pad and
where
you
you're
do
going
need, you don't
and
need.
everything.
Right.
Yeah. The day pack backpack, I would recommend a school backpack if your school backpack has a hip and a chest strap. So like my school backpack was from North Face, so it did have the hip and chest strap. I used it all throughout school, and I used it in Masada, and then I just used it again as a counselor.
I use them every day though.
Yes. But that's the size you're looking for, like a high school backpack size. Sleeping pad is not just for comfort, it's actually to keep you off of the cold ground. It makes you a lot warmer. So they make some that inflate, some that don't inflate, but the insulation from the ground is the most important part. The mess kit, which is actually on the regular packing list, but kids will tell you that they don't use them, but we really do use ours for every meal. So at the minimum, like a plate, bowl, fork, and spoon, and then your camper's going to be cleaning it themselves. So you might want to go over washing dishes a little bit too. And headlamp is important. Campsites, the bathroom sometimes can be a little far away from where we're sleeping, so they do walk-in buddies, but it's nice to have the headlamp. Hiking boots is the really important. There's a little box talking about the hiking boots next to it, making sure that they fit really well and that they're broken in. That's probably not something that could be borrowed from a from a relative. Or we had a girl who was using her mom's old hiking boots, and they actually did not make it through the whole trip, and she had to buy new ones when we were in Colorado. So that's a really good thing that's like the thing to spend your money on the most, I think.
I would say that's probably one of the top questions we get from parents is what does that mean? I think that some kids are fine with hiking shoes. You can even get the running shoes that are also for off-track running, right? But if you know your child needs better ankle support, then get one with ankles. You don't have to buy the $300 boots, but I would go to an Alpine Shop or an REI or whatever is in your city and ask them, try things on and see what works, and then look online.
Yeah, and if they're uncomfortable walking around the store, then they're only going to be more uncomfortable walking up a mountain.
And so I'm going to jump ahead along with that, the socks are also super important, but you don't have to buy the $150 hiking socks. You can also get sock liners. If kids wear sock liners, like you wear them when you snow ski, you can wear a sock liner and a sock. They also won't blister. Or you can just get good hiking socks, but don't get cotton.
The water bottles are important. It's really nice to have an insert in your backpack, like a Camelback kind of water pouch. Those are really helpful. But if you are going to bring water bottles, probably at least 3 or 4, because you're just refilling them all the time if you only have one. And sometimes we're going on longer hikes, 10 miles, where there isn't a chance to refill water, and it's just really important to have more than enough water. But then definitely you don't need anything insulated, because our water we have access to isn't usually cold, so there's not much of a point. I think that the plastic Nalgene bottles are the best choice. You definitely don't need a Hydro Flask or a Yeti or anything like that. It just adds weight.
You really don't need those ever.
But
Even if they
Although
tell
they
you
all
that.
have
They-
them.
Yes, they all have them, but you don't need them.
incorporate.
If the kids have a hydration pack, but then they have a hydration pack and a backpack, so is the hydration pack not a good idea?
Usually it fits in the backpack.
Okay.
And then even if there's not a special
They can figure out a way to
place,
pull it.
you can put the hose out and zip around the
Thanks.
hose and stuff like that. It usually works. The next thing is the rain jacket. So important. It rains all the time, sometimes every single day. It doesn't have to be the fanciest rain jacket. They can layer it over their other sweatshirt or whatever, but something waterproof.
Jeannie, do they need rain pants or no?
Oh, yeah, that's a good question.
Rain pants are on the list. I know people who had them and people who didn't. People who didn't have them, I don't think were miserable. And people who did have them, I know some people that wore them who said, you know, I like these rain pants, I'm gonna wear them. And I know some kids who were like, my mom bought me these rain pants and I'm not even gonna take them out of the bag.
Zach, did you have rain pants?
No.
I did not have rain pants.
Were you sad that you didn't have rain pants?
No.
So very optional.
Yeah. And then multi-day hiking backpack for the 3-day hike. The hiking backpacks are measured in liters. So 60 liters is around where your backpack should be. But again, go to a store and try it on and they'll weigh it down with a bunch of packs of sand and stuff and make you walk around the store with it. And then you could always find one that you like and buy it from somewhere else. Also, this is a really good thing to borrow from a relative or a friend if you have one that's a similar size, because they last a very long time and there's no reason to not borrow one. Sunglasses are important. It is really sunny in Colorado. It's nice if you have ones that don't fall off your head when we're being active. Just a little shake test could determine. And then some optional items, the rain pants, gloves. I personally wore gloves. I get cold easily and we would still be outside, so I brought gloves and wore them pretty often.
Did you wear gloves?
No, I had pockets.
Camping chair, we spend a lot of time at campsites, so not like a golf chair, but like a Crazy Creek chair, or some people have like little ones in a bag that unfold into like a little stool or something. But we do spend a lot of time sitting around at campsites, so I think that's a good choice.
So if they brought what we would use in the city, like if you're going to a soccer game, for instance, they could throw that in the van, but they're not going to take that on their 3-day hike.
Right.
So I would think about that. If you want something little enough to take on the 3-day hike, then it's the little ones or the Crazy Creek. Other than that, they can just take something you've got in your garage that's
So here's a question that came in. So a little bit of confusion, if you guys can help out. What is a 3-day hiking backpack?
Oh, got it.
Is it total weight 60 liters? How is this different from other backpacks they bring?
So the day pack backpack, which is like the size of a school backpack, is what you're using, kind of like how you would use a purse. Like you put whatever you need for the day in it, and sometimes we're in the city, sometimes we're on a short hike, but you have what you need for that day in it. So usually a raincoat, lunch, anything personal you like to bring. The 3-day hike backpack, which has to be at least 60 liters, that's how they measure, so it can fit 60 liters worth of stuff in it. And that's for one hiking trip that we take during the session that's 3 days long. We leave in the morning and you, over the course of 3 days, summit a mountain and then come back down. So you're carrying everything that you need for that 3-day trip in just your backpack. So all the food you're gonna eat, what you're gonna sleep on, stuff for the group as a whole, like the propane for the stove, gets divided up.
So it's what you typically would see like in a movie where people are hiking, where it has a frame. It goes over your shoulders, and then it either has an internal frame, which means you're not going to see the frame, or it has a frame that you can see with a hip belt on it. So that's the hiking backpack.
And Zach, what kind of backpacks did you bring?
So I did bring a day pack. It was just kind of like an old school backpack. And then I also did bring the multi-day hiking backpack. And that one we didn't get from a store or anything. We actually got it from my cousin, who was in Jeannie's Masada, and brought that same backpack up the mountain, and it was totally fine.
Great.
Yeah.
I think it would be helpful, because I've never had a kid in Masada yet, just to kind of give me like a rundown. Like, okay, they leave on Monday, drive out there, you're camped at one place and you do day trips, and then on Wednesday you go on a 3-day thing, just so I can get an idea of like kind of how you'll use these things, so I kind of know like how this kind of works to pack them.
Sure, do you want me to get to that?
So we're going to talk about the itinerary later.
Oh.
So so the question is, can we get an idea of the month and how that's experienced to lend context to the packing? That was a very fancy way of saying, I don't know why I talk so fancy there all of a sudden. And we'll talk about the trip and what they'll need and when they'll go. Emily?
With the sleeping pad, if it's inflatable, I don't know if they always come with a blow-up thing, or do we have a pump, or do we have like a one for? Like a sure camp. Okay. No.
The question is about inflatable sleeping bags, and even do you need a pump?
So
most of them are.
Mine was, you would just blow into it. It mostly self-inflated, and then you would finish it off by blowing into it a little and then twisting it closed. Some do come with a pump. A lot of times there's a pump where you fill it with air from, just like that, and then pump that air into the sleeping bag. They would need to bring that themselves. We don't have like a pump for the group, but I would say the ones that don't involve a pump are more common.
What did you have, Zach?
I had one that had like a little screw where you could either blow it up manually or just kind of let it sit for a while and it would self-inflate.
Where'd you get that? Do you remember?
No.
Mine was from REI.
REI?
Your dad got you that.
Yeah.
We'll ask his dad.
Okay.
We'll ask his dad and we'll let you know.
Great, thanks, that's great.
I just want to add something, because my first daughter went and she just had a pad and it didn't blow up, and she said that was not good. So I would recommend, not that you have to spend or do it, but I would recommend the blow-up ones.
So we have a parent recommendation for the inflatable.
Yeah.
Okay. The third page is pretty much all the same stuff you've been packing for them, however many years you've been packing for them. There's really nothing unusual. I would say the only questions that we get, first of all, is there are no electric outlets in the tents. There is electricity at the pavilion that they hang out in all day, but anything that's electric, like a fan, anything like that, not going to work for them. So if you're going to get them a clip-on fan, you're going to need it to be battery operated.
But this is only in Colorado.
No,
in
this is
camp
in
also.
camp too.
There is no electricity in the tents the whole time. So in Colorado, there's a pavilion that they hang out with in
Masada.
at camp. At camp, and they sleep in the tents. There is no electricity in those tents either. They're platform tents, but there's no electricity.
So they spend the whole summer in tents this year?
Correct.
Thank you.
They
But
spend the whole summer.
the
in
first
tents.
half, the tents have beds just like the beds their cabins have, so you're still sending a twin sheet set and a pillow, and they're in there, but it's still a tent. It's different than there's no
So,
electricity.
Zach, will you describe what the tents are like up at Masada?
Yeah, so there's actually a couple different types of tents. The one I was in was one of the newer tents. It was closer to the pavilion. It was like built off this concrete slab, and some other ones are built off these wooden platforms. And it's, I want to say probably like an 8 by 8 foot type tent, where there's 3 or 4 beds in each tent, and there are these like 2 poles on either side that kind of support the top of the tent, and it drapes down. If you kind of think about a stereotypical like movie tent, that's what it's going to be. It really wasn't that bad at all.
And did you get to pick who was in your tent, or how did that work out?
No, we didn't get to pick who was in our tent. We just kind of got assigned with like the tents, and we just kind of went with it. But it also was fine.
And someone wants to know at home, what are the tents like when you're in Colorado?
Tents in Colorado, I preferred them much over the tents in like back at camp, just because the weather was a lot nicer, and I kind of went to bed cozy instead of like at camp going to bed sweating.
Right?
Hammocks are another big item on our Masada question list from maybe some people in the room and people out there. We do allow the Masada kids to bring hammocks to camp. They will not be allowed to bring them to Colorado because many of the campsites don't allow you to use hammocks there, so it would be a waste of our space. and really a waste of your.
So is that no to hammocks?
No.
Hammocks are fine in camp.
The 2 weeks they're at camp, they can have their hammocks. So there are trees at the village at Masada where they can hang them up, but it is for the daylight. It's not, they're not sleeping in the hammocks, and it's not like, they're not hanging out in this in the middle of the night. It's just when they can be up during the daytime and then down at night.
I would say they are on the extreme end of optional. Cameras, we get this question a lot. We'll go into communication later. We do not send a photographer on the trip. I know there is somebody on the trip this year whose staff who used to be the photographer. That's not going to be his job on the trip. So any of the pictures that you will see of the Colorado trip will be from campers who we collect their SIM cards. So if you want to send, I wouldn't send them with anything expensive, period, to camp ever. But that's up to you what you do for a camera for them. I wouldn't send the disposables. You can, they're super expensive to, at Walgreens, or wherever you go, to develop, thank you, couldn't think of that word. Right, exactly. But you could buy, there's tons of little inexpensive digital cameras that you can buy too.
I had one that was just like AAA battery operated when I was a camper, which was really nice because it never died. You would just replace the batteries. And I'm happy with my pictures from when I was a camper, and this was years ago. I'm sure they're much better now.
Yeah. And then the last big packing question is from almost every parent is money. I'm going to let Zach and Valerie speak a little bit to that.
Sorry.
So we really didn't know what to send Zachary and Caitlin with when they went to Masada, and we felt like if we sent them with a little bit of cash and the rest of the money on some kind of prepaid Visa gift card, there would at least be some security so that if they lost their money, they had a tracking system for whatever if they needed for the Visa, for the prepaid Visa card. And I think we did $80 in cash and then another possibly $100 to $120 on a prepaid Visa card. 2 different places on their being so that if they needed the other, it was available to them. So we just felt like that was the safest way to protect anything they might want to buy while they were away.
And also, that amount of money was totally enough. Like, it covered me for meals, it covered me for like extra snacks,
He's a boy.
and then
We brought gifts.
yeah, I
Yes,
was
okay.
able
I just
to have
wanted to
extra
throw it
to
out.
give like everybody gifts.
At what point are they able to go shop? Like the
So
shop?
we, a lot of times we'll do a morning short hike and then an afternoon visit to a city. So we went to Breckenridge.
The itinerary is different this year.
Yeah.
There'll be
Oh, is
less
it?
shopping opportunities.
To Breckenridge.
Opportunities.
To Ringo.
I would say that a preponderance of what they buy is food.
Mostly food.
We provide them every meal. They're teenagers and they see a restaurant or they see a Gasper's or whatever, and they're gonna go in and buy food. Again, we try to regulate, no peanuts, no tree nuts, back on the bus.
Yeah, but
But
we
a
would-
lot of what they buy is food.
We would go, have lunch and then go to a city from 2 to 4 o'clock, and everyone would like have their second meal while we were there.
So then, remember when they're in a Breckenridge, for instance, a sweatshirt in Breckenridge is a lot more expensive than a sweatshirt in St. Louis. So, as a mom, I always took the opportunity to discuss that, with the kids. If you give them $200 and you spend $75 on it on a sweatshirt, that's a big percentage of the money that you said. But it is ski town prices, so that's probably why so you would say 200 was enough.
Yeah, like 200.
And you guys said, but he's a boy, so tell me a girl.
I shouldn't be like that, but I just know my girls bought gifts for everyone, but they also like at least one sweatshirt, if not another 2 shirts for
Right.
themselves. But that's just my kids.
How much did you send with your girls?
I mean, probably like $250,
Like
maybe more.
$250. I would say the most I've heard is about $300. I'm sure that there
I don't
are
remember.
outliers out there, but I think you're perfectly fine with $150 to $200.
You're fine with plastic. Believe me, you are.
I sent an email to all families for 2019 Masada, and what came back was between 150 and 300. A combination of cash and credit cards, or some people did the credit cards that you put money, the prepaid ones that they put the money in already. Yeah. Yeah, go ahead.
Are you guys holding on to that at any point, or do they have it at all times?
So, like, they're given the option, if you want to hold on to it, you can hold on to it, or if you want to give it to the staff because you don't trust yourself, you can do that. But almost everyone, if not everyone, like, just kept their money.
We had a few campers who had asked us to hold their money, and they got tired of having to come ask us every time they wanted it, so then decided to hold it for themselves. And we did not have any campers like lose a whole wallet or anything. So that was pretty
stolen
cool.
sometimes,
And-
unfortunately.
Is there ever a time besides when they're in Colorado that they can use money, like during the first week of camp or the last week of camp?
Big Surf, the last week of camp, so that's typical, you are all used to that.
Again, they do not need a lot of money at Big Surf, no matter what they tell you.
And the money gets stolen there. It had, like, we got money stolen at Big Sur.
It just gets confused because there's 350 kids all asking for
It's
the
just
money,
not worth
right?
it, right.
Though they will buy food at that snack bar also, because there's outside camp food. And they will buy severely overpriced T-shirts and things at Big Surf. So I wouldn't calculate a whole lot of money for Big Surf. I'm sure all the campers are like, please stop talking now.
Exactly.
Mom, when did I buy one thing from Big Sur?
Josh's gonna rage.
Or hemp necklaces or whatever. We don't even let them go in the gift shop anymore at Big Surf, so it doesn't matter. But they will buy food at Big Surf. And then Masada, didn't you guys go to Columbia?
No.
No.
But we did go to a cave.
We went to a cave.
Oh,
And there was
yeah.
a gift shop there.
Another shopportunity.
Did go to
They
Columbia.
went to Columbia or Springfield, they saw Cardinal.
Yeah.
That one-
They go to a cave, they sleep overnight in a cave in Eldon, Missouri. So that will tell you how much money they need for that gift shop. They can buy like some geodes or I'm sure a T-shirt.
A chocolate bar.
We're not doing the baseball game with other.
That's older mod.
As a parent for Masada, can I say this to you guys? Zach's dad and I, we didn't want to feel responsible for sending our kids with so much money that if something happened and it got lost, they would feel bad on their trip. That was kind of our mentality in giving them what we gave them along the way, because we just didn't want them to feel bad. They were $400 and they lost it all. That would ruin their time. So it was just something that we felt was a little bit more manageable for the kids. Just a little side note.
I sent my daughter with a debit card that I could load if she needed money. You can also do something like that.
I just didn't want them stressing out.
Yeah.
They knew they had X amount of dollars, and if it was lost or they misplaced it, like his hat, his $40 hat gone. But, you know, I didn't want that to be the biggest part of their experience there and having to worry about that.
So, when you're hiking in the mountains in Colorado, so, and I say this with the caveat that I'm from Alaska, so this is my biggest fear now. So what do you do to prepare, or to prepare and to make cautious of bears?
So it's a bear question.
It does worry
Are you
me.
going to sing
Can I
about
explain
it?
this?
Sure, we'll sing about it.
Okay, so they do prepare us before we leave for Colorado. Like for hiking, they would like have us train the first week of camp. But when it comes to bears, they also told us before, like even if you're at a campsite and you see a bear, what you're wanting to do is you're wanting to like kind of make yourself as big as you possibly can, make yourself look really big, and then yell at the top of your lungs. It might sound funny, but you have to yell it, "Go away, bear," and the bear will hopefully go away.
But what do you do if you catch them on a trail? Does somebody have bear mace when they go?
We don't have bear mace. When they go on their 3-day hike, they're with an outfitter who very well may have some. So we have a professional trip leader with them. Nobody, to my knowledge, has ever come home and said they saw a bear or heard of a bear. Almost all the campsites that they stay in are national parking, so they're very well populated. And they really regulate trash and food in those. The hikes that they're going on without the outfitter are day hikes, so they're not really going very far out into the woods.
Correct.
Yeah.
And then also relating to the bears, like when Terry was talking about food and them really regulating it, there are these things at the campsites called bear boxes,
Yeah.
where you have these giant like boxes that are
That you
made
keep
of
your
metal
stuff in,
that you keep
yeah.
your stuff in. And to all the kids, if there's a fun game you can play, it's called Bear Box Ball. Ask Sydney Star about it.
So that's.
Really? You got the call?
So we asked our last year families for suggestions, and their suggestions were, each camper should bring a small pillow for the 3-day hike. These are from our families. They also have those little blow-up pillows, just takes a couple breaths. Buy a good sleeping bag, buy a good headlamp. No need for rain pants, but extra sweatpants would be helpful, somebody said. And borrow items from past campers. I would say borrow everything except the hiking boots.
I have a question about that. In
Yeah.
terms of packing for both kids, we had their cousins who went through the summer experience, and we had a lot of their materials. But I was looking for places that would offer discounts for campers. So if you guys know anything, or if we hear of anything along the way, we would pass that along, because it can be very expensive.
Yeah.
For a short amount of time. And I'm always looking for a great discount if I can find one, and I just haven't found any place that really provides that for campers,
No.
for overnight campers. So if anybody finds that, if you don't mind sharing that with the other parents, that would be
Also,
really nice.
if you do have older siblings who are staff members at camp, some places do offer staff discounts, so that can be very helpful.
Hey, we're gonna pause for 1 sec. I didn't get it in time.
There are also, online, there are camping outlets online too. Sam's here in St. Louis, while we're not talking to people from out of town, it's a little janky.
Uncle Sam's?
Yeah, Uncle Sam's, not Sam's, sorry, Uncle Sam's, but they do have some camping stuff. But you don't want like that old metal mess kit that, they would take to, Vietnam with them in 1972.
You don't mean the canteen
Right?
with the felt?
Exactly.
You know where we went, I took both kids to Camping World. Was it Camping World or was it Gander?
Gander.
It was Gander.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Did they close? So we were looking for discounts for overnight.
I know, and Uncle Sam's used to be good way back when, and now it's.
Yeah, we got our massive duffel from Uncle Sam's, but I did get the Gander, they got the higher class.
It's already happened.
Alpine Chalky good.
Yeah, the roots from Alpine. But I was looking for somewhere that would offer discounts for campers.
No.
So you've got Cyber Monday coming up. There's still Black Friday. I don't know why they call it
it's
Black
Cyber
Friday, because
Monday.
it's still all going
Maybe
on.
they move.
Cyber Monday.
Tuesday.
Right, well, Cyber Forever. And Hanukkah. So those are great Hanukkah presents.
That's why we got the record going.
Right.
I mean, this doesn't really go about this in the future.
Seriously?
It might be too much work, but for people who've done with Masada and like they know their kid is never gonna camp again in their lives. I don't know if there's a way to do something like Sabra trading and
Sharing something.
sharing websites, something for the future might really help them.
So we've thought of that, but we just don't want to be in charge of it.
Because of the liability? Is that what you
Well,
mean?
like what if it's not good, or what if somebody says they
It's
will?
just part of the Facebook page is for Masada parents just to communicate with, hey, we're done with this stuff.
Yeah,
And
'cause
then
after
people
an
could instant message themselves, then you don't have to.
Because after this year, I'm happy to get rid of all my stuff
That's
that
what I'm
I've
saying,
had.
maybe there is a way to
And I've
talk with each
upgraded
other.
stuff.
It doesn't kind of.
Can you guys
I've upgraded.
message each other when you're, I'm not on Facebook, sorry. I'm kind of off the whole InstaFace world, but if you're all friends with our Facebook page, can you talk to each other?
Yeah.
So maybe we could
I
send
mean, I would like
out.
someone to get all my stuff when we're
Or
done.
even if it's just really expensive.
There's a Sabra Masada page or something. I don't know. Just thought I'd throw it out there.
Yeah.
I know, right?
Because it is, it gets really, really expensive.
Yeah, I'm sure Angel's kids have it too. I don't know. She could be also.
All right.
Oh, you get Angel?
Was there anything we missed in the past 5 minutes that they missed online? Everyone got knocked off.
No, we were talking about St. Louis specific places to buy things.
Perfect, thank
So
you.
general questions from the crowd on Facebook, yes.
How much staff goes with them? Like, how many counselors are there?
They have 6 going back.
And 36 kids?
No, 43 kids for second session. I believe 46 first session, and 43 second session. 6 staff, and then there's a bus driver. And the bus driver, there was another grown-up who traveled with the bus driver last year. I think first session was his brother, and second session was his wife.
So is Lee the oldest person?
Lee and John are the same.
Yeah.
age.
Not that it matters.
Oh,
Rosie is old.
Yeah, Rosie's maybe 23,
I'm just
23, a couple
curious. You could
22s.
be 18 and be more mature, but I'm just curious.
Mina's old. Mina's 22. Yeah. It's actually skews a little bit old, and then a couple 20-year-olds.
Yeah, you got Sydney, right?
But Sydney's an old soul. Sydney.
Well, that's like my Ashley's an old soul. so-
Right, exactly.
That's why I'm just curious.
Right, and he looks 40, so. Hi, Sydney. How many, there's 43 second session and 46 first session.
In Colorado.
They spend just one night on the bus, so they'll leave Sunday night and they'll eat dinner at camp.
One night.
Correct, yes. Oh, yeah, yeah. Yes.
On the Colorado
Yeah.
experience.
Yes.
So is it about half and half or is it?
It is not half and half, but I don't have that here. I think second session is closer to equity, to gender equity. First session, I think, is a preponderance of boys.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of boys first session.
It was like 26 girls and like 6 boys.
When they're in the camp,
Yeah.
the tents, are they
A bunch of the
separate?
boys,
Yes, oh, here's a very important question. Tents in camp, yes, they are housed by gender. So I believe that there are 3 girls in every tent, or 4, depending.
Yeah, and it's like the pavilion in the middle, and then like boys' tents, girls' tents, they're separate.
Can you sleep in the pavilion?
During the day.
Josh Stone already
I
caused
don't
me
think you'll
trouble.
find a lot of stuff. And no mosquitoes, really.
Not in Colorado.
In Colorado.
Any other questions? Questions from Facebook?
Yeah, we went down again.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
For the stuff they bring from Colorado, it's okay if it's in big duffel bags because they're only carrying it when they're on the 3-day hike.
Right, so they will actually share a duffel bag with like a person of their choice.
Or 3 people.
Or 3, or
So
several.
they'll pack in a big duffel bag, either 2 or 3 kids will pack for the Colorado trip in the same duffel.
So we send stuff like usual.
Yes, and then they figure it out.
And it's their problem.
Yeah.
Right.
And then they'll figure it out to get to Colorado and for the 3-day hike, they get what they can in their pack and hopefully don't fall over and that's
And we kind of loaded before we went, just to see what the kids, what they could carry. You might want to try that before you go. Load up the backpacks and see how it feels for the kids.
You still do that swim that's like coat to coat. I think you stopped that after.
Years
midnight.
ago.
She had to suffer.
I know, the lake
through
is
it and
not
then-
safe anymore.
That was one of my districts.
So our caretaker at camp is a volunteer fire, he's the assistant fire chief at Rocky Mount, and when he tells me no, then it's no.
I'm totally
He
fine
was
with that.
even following the kids in the fireboat, and the lake is just, it's not the lake of the 70s and the 80s
No,
anymore.
I
It's
don't
way
even think
too.
it's safe anymore. I just was curious.
Yes.
So everything
I'd
that
love
they
to get
take
into
to
it.
camp, do they leave some stuff at camp and then just take what they need
Yes.
to?
Yes.
to
They
Colorado?
will pack whatever they're not taking to Colorado back up in their duffel and put it in the storage room while we're in
And we'll lock it
Colorado.
up.
And then when they are packing for Colorado, I would suggest this for all you guys, since you will be sharing a duffel with everyone else. If you have an extra laundry bag, I suggest putting all your things in there. Just so you don't get confused on whose items are whose.
So then is there no laundry since they have the first?
They do
week?
laundry before they go, and they do laundry when they come back. And they also have dirty shirt contests.
Yes.
And they'll wear.
They-
You will be shocked how few clothes they wear on this trip.
Yeah.
Yes.
I hope all you guys do the 1 shirt challenge in Colorado. Just wear 1 shirt.
I didn't.
I did it.
They do the hot springs, and I think there's a KOA shower.
Yeah.
I think they have 2 opportunities to shower. It's hiking. Yeah.
I know on the regular Sabra, what to bring list, they have a backpack. Is there any need to bring 2 backpacks or just?
No.
Not backpacks, I'm sorry, sleeping bags.
No, same one.
Same one, okay.
I know that if you're bringing one that's for the colder weather, you can always sleep on top of it with a sheet on top of you.
We don't
Or
s-
they don't even sleep in the sleeping bag. at
We don't
camp.
sleep anywhere that's warm to the point where you would want like your usual Missouri.
I think they're
sleeping
thinking
bag.
at camp.
Oh,
But
yeah.
at camp, they'll make their
They
bunk
do
just like
sheets.
always,
Okay.
a set of sheets.
Also, when you're in Colorado, and let's say your sleeping bag is 40 degree instead of 20 degree and it gets really cold, I would suggest packing a sleeping bag liner, because the one I had added another 20 degrees to it, and it was very comfortable. And it also kind of kept my sleeping bag a little cleaner too, because the liner, like you get in the liner and then you get in the sleeping bag, so it kind of keeps everything clean and my sleeping bag not as gross.
Jeannie, so here was a question that had come in. What kind of activities are they doing in Colorado when they're not hiking? Like just like the non-activity.
Sure.
Down again?
Just trying to reconnect.
Well, we can still
Should we-
answer it, because you'll put it on the other
Yeah.
one.
Oh, I should still answer.
Sure.
Okay, so we had a question about activities in Colorado besides hiking. So our trip, we did a couple of things. We did rock climbing. We did whitewater rafting.
So
We also did
climbing.
Llama Olympics.
Yeah, we hung out with llamas, which was pretty neat. We did a couple city visits. We went to the hot springs, which is like exactly like you'd imagine, I guess. It's a very large facility with like lots of different
Did you
temperature
get in?
pools. Yeah, we did. We spent the,
Should they bring a bathing suit or anything, or did you?
is that on there?
I think they pack a bathing suit.
It's
on there because
Oh, yeah.
It should be on the regular
Oh, it's on the
camp
regular,
list, yeah. And then they'll bring one to
Jared,
Colorado.
they're doing like water rafting.
that's what I was.
They will
gonna
do the
ask.
whitewater
rafting, yeah.
That's always a highlight.
Yeah. They've changed their name to River
The horse stacks, the rings.
What?
River
Sign a
Runners,
waiver
so the
for the
t-shirts are
ranch.
different now.
Oh, but I like the other name.
Don't even say that.
Oh, come on, Terry. I'll have to ask my kids, I forgot.
Um,
It might have just been really
It was
sweet.
inappropriate, that's all I remember.
I wish we did.
Oh, yeah, we did. We did we visited the college campus of Boulder and walked around and we had
Tour.
yeah, we had a tour guide and we saw it.
So
I think second session, I'm just gonna find the field.
Is it like they camp, they pitch tents and then they get up and then like 2 days later you go somewhere else? And like are you're all
Yes.
over the place, so you're setting up camp and taking down camp?
Yes, we stayed at each campsite 2 to 4 days.
And you just
So,
bus from
yeah,
site to site?
and some days, like we stayed at the same campsite for 4 days in Dillon, and then we were going anywhere from like 1 to 3 hours away from there for the day and then coming back. But it's a lot more convenient than trying to stay at a campsite, a different one every day. We always stay at campsites with water, which is very nice. Not always plumbing, but always water, so you can brush your teeth and everything, and we don't run out.
Also, going back to her talking about how like the campsites were probably an hour, like between 1 or 3 hours away, that brings me to another point. When you're on a bus ride, don't ask, are we there yet? Or don't ask, how long is the bus ride? Because 1, they won't answer your question, and 2, staff will get mad at you. And that also brings me to another point. Just in general, don't ask any questions.
That's pretty hard, I don't know.
I know. It was tough for me. My first week, I would ask so many questions, and then all the staff would just turn to me and say, Zach, stop asking questions.
That's so cute.
And then afterwards, I learned that if I had a question, just keep it in. Just make a guess. Make
Talk
a guess.
amongst yourself.
Talk amongst yourselves. Don't ask the staff about it, because the whole point of it is to focus on the present instead of like worrying about the future.
Surprise and delight, right?
Yeah.
So as a parent, when you're driving in the car and you're somewhere beautiful and, you know, it's this in the back seat, you want to say, look up, and that's the staff's, that's a 22-year-old version of, you know, look up and enjoy where you are. They don't have their screens. But, you know, just asking questions and, you know, doing that also takes them away. So that's really the goal of them not telling them anything. It's all a surprise.
I never came with both, but they electronic watches. I mean, not a smartwatch, but just
Yeah.
a watch.
A regular watch, sure.
Somebody else?
Do they shower when they're camping, or do they take shampoo
Or soap just to like rinse off?
They usually get at least one opportunity to shower, sometimes 2. And usually what we do is we have a group of them get together and they pack one of their sets of shampoo, conditioner, whatever, and they all.
Okay.
I know Lee
But they brush
brings,
their-
They brush their teeth.
teeth.
Oh my
I know
God.
Lee brings dry shampoo
If
too.
they feel like.
What?
I know Lee brings dry shampoo with her.
I
Okay.
had my hair braided by a camper, and
That's a
I
great
kept
idea.
it in the braids for the whole
That's a great idea.
time.
Caitlin did that too. She had 2 French braids for about 12
Perfect.
days.
Yes.
And that was it.
I think
Amanda
it's
worked
great.
the whole time.
And she was fine with that.
It's a lifetime memory. It's something that you may never do again. And it's, you know, it's when your camping trip gets rained out, or, you know, when the river, you know, your chicken gets burned, it's those stories. So I think the not showering and the wearing one shirt is part of the lore.
And then also in Colorado, if there's something you want to do, then do it. Unless, like, the staff tells you no. Like, if you're at the peak of a mountain and, like, you want to explore and the counselors say no, don't take your other friend and explore. Don't do that. Because then that's bad, and you will get punished. That happened to my Masada. Jeannie knows exactly who it is. They got punished for the rest of the time. They couldn't go into any stores for city visits, couldn't buy anything. So I advise against that. But if it's within reason and there's something you want to do, like let's say you're given the opportunity to go on an extra hike while everyone else is tired, go do it. Because you're going to regret it if you don't do it. And that was my big concern going into Masada, like not being able to do something that I regretted. Like I wanted to be able to have no regrets after Masada, and I was successful with that. So all of you guys, if you want to do something, do it. Within reason.
Thanks, Zach.
You're welcome.
Campers, do you guys have any questions? There's not been one camper question. Who is brave enough? Sam's question was the hen house.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
Are all of you current campers? You're all current campers, you all did older hop? Just curious.
We have 2 new campers coming into Masada this year.
Specifically from Masada, that was my question. Did anybody just come in for?
Second session?
No, one's first, Houston is first session.
Houston, first session.
So they're both first session?
First session, new campers.
Often when they come in new at this age, it's campers who, like, I know CYJ, their program ended the year before.
Okay.
So he's friends with everybody that came, so he's coming to same.
Okay.
Yeah. No camper questions.
I think Josh Stone has a question.
Josh Stone's trouble.
I did not have a question. I am okay.
You raise your hand.
Josh needs chocolate.
No.
Josh for sure needs chocolate.
Jeannie, sorry, they lost their connection. Just, it should be on there, but real quick, will you just reiterate, daily meds managed by staff in Colorado? Question mark?
They're managed by staff for the month.
For the month.
Yeah, so they're managed by staff the whole time. They do not come into camp to take their meds.
And when not hiking in Colorado, so I think they're talking more of like downtime.
Oh, okay.
What kind of things do you guys do?
So when we arrive back from a day of activity, usually we immediately go into making dinner. And that does take a while, and most kids like to hang out around where they're making dinner and play cards or write in their journal or just talk to each other, explore. They like to walk around our campsite a lot, like we stay by a lake sometimes, so they go and skip rocks and everything.
Those travel games would be a good thing to.
Yeah,
to
travel
bring
games
them
would be
to.
great.
Just a deck of cards.
Yeah, cards are always very popular. Lots of different games. And then, yeah, like another sort of, bananagrams or something would probably be fun. Yeah, a lot of these.
Do Mad Libs anyone?
Oh, yeah, Mad
Mad
Libs.
Libs are great.
That would be fun. But yeah, they're tired mostly. I mean, we don't usually have a hard time getting them to bed when the sun goes down because it's just an exhausting trip. So.
Okay, this is randomly off topic, but it popped in my mind, and before it doesn't stay in my mind, I want to tell you guys about this. You guys probably have inside jokes from younger Hob, older Hob, right? When you get into Masada, forget all about it. Make new inside jokes. That's what we were told as soon as we started Masada, because the staff, like the first day, we had all these random jokes, and the staff just kind of looked at us with confusion, like they didn't know what we were talking about, except for Jeannie, because she was our unit head. But everyone else had zero clue what we were talking about, and they wanted to make their own experiences with us. So because of that, they asked us, like, hey, we know you guys have these inside jokes. Do you mind pushing them off to the side and letting your new experiences from this year make new, like, jokes and stories? And that was like one of the big things that I really enjoyed too.
Well, and I'll connect with that to say that, you know how every year there's my cabin and the other cabin? So
Yes.
that completely washes away.
Yes.
This year, and I hear it every single year after Masada is, oh, like, why weren't we friends when we were in Ayelet or Almagor? And it really, it just becomes a very, it's amazing, the group bonding. And when they become staff, the same thing happens, like, oh, why didn't we know you just because you were first session and we were second session? It's the same thing. So you guys will make a lot, you'll be surprised at how many new friends you'll make. Because they live in the other campus.
We should talk about journaling.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
I would say journal, is that
Do you want to
Yeah.
pass it up?
It's on a.
It's an extra, okay, I think I would buy a journal for sure. We do provide a regular spiral notebook to the kids that don't have a journal. But, I mean, it's a camper's choice if they're gonna write in one or not. We do sometimes provide time in the day, so that we're saying you should take out your journal and write now. But I know a lot of campers that are really happy that they have a detailed journal where
And
they.
as I can say, I teach high school English. I cannot tell you how many Sabra Masada College essays.
Caitlin.
Seriously.
My daughter.
I
know.
I have had so many
My
kids
kids
write
have
their
written
college
so many
admissions
Sabra
essay on
things.
Sabra.
Yes, mine
So
too.
if you keep a journal, I
Yes.
have helped
Yeah,
many
mine
kids with those.
Caitlin is doing that right now with her Masada experience.
I would also suggest writing it down too, just because in the future, like let's say you're hanging out with someone from your Masada 5 years afterwards, and they bring up something, chances are you're gonna forget about it unless it was something very monumental. For instance, one of our staff members, Amanda, she didn't journal at all, and she was on Masada with Jeannie. And they were talking about us like journaling, and Amanda brought up the fact that when her and Jeannie talk about Masada, it's mainly Jeannie talking about it because Amanda doesn't remember much. So if you really want to remember it, then write it down.
And I still have my Masada journal, and I've sent 2 boys already to Masada, and I let them read it before they went. Of course, it was me coming as a teenager, and I'll let Sam read mine coming now, but I still have mine, so it's so great.
Special.
The journaling, so.
Any more questions?
Wait, do you guys give us the journals?
We can give you one if you don't have to.
But if you want to pick like a few of them,
Yeah,
it's like to go to like Target.
There's some.
I sound really sexist, but I like girls. That's what
Yeah.
I'm
Well, thank you, everybody. I so appreciate you coming out here, and I feel bad for everybody we lost our connection the last like 10 minutes, but I'll catch them back up. Thank you. If as the off season continues and as camp crawls closer and closer, please don't hesitate to ask if you've got other questions.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
One box.